file and the source file as always, and then quiz for tutorial 3. So on this page here, which is the Excel functions and resource example in week 3, if you click on that, there's a link up here at the very top. In this link at the very top gives Microsoft Office's function page for Excel with definition by definition and example by example of how to use those functions. Avail yourself to that. Bookmark it on your browser at home. That way you can go back later and look at all the functions that are out there. It also has a note at that top of the page there for Office 2010, some changes there to make it even easier to use functions. Has a blog, I believe, for you to look at. I told you I would post some examples that are way ahead of this class, and this one for sure is. This one's not so much. In fact, this one here, this bottom one, car financing, uses ABS min and payment function, which the book goes over, but don't have an exercise really or assignment for you to do. So you can look at that one. This one here is a little bit more detailed. This file actually has a life cycle of about 2.5 years. That's how long that's been in existence. It started from 2.5 years ago. And you can tell by the extension it's an older Excel document. Doesn't have the XLSX extension, but a lot of cool functions in there, hidden columns, and so avail yourself of that. A little bit more intermediate and advanced, for sure, intermediate and advanced type of functions. If I show it to you tonight and you try to go over it, it'll confuse most of you, so I'm not going to do it. Okay? But I know some of you wanted extra stuff, extra functions to look at, ways you can do stuff with Excel. Then, this is the InClass exercise we'll look at in just a second. As I said, we've got a definitions, which is a Word document, InClass exercise, which is a beginning Excel sheet, workbook, and then the source example. When we're finished with the InClass exercise, you'll submit it as always below when you're done. And then here is the take-home homework assignment due next week. Your beginning file you need for starting on page EX153. As always, make sure you went through the whole tutorial from beginning to end. Watch the podcast. Go over the resources I've given you before you attempt to do the assignment. Hopefully you've already went over the podcast and got a chance to thumb through the tutorial before class tonight. And then the solution file right there. And then looking ahead for next week, we'll be covering next week charts. We're actually going to use the InClass example tonight, next week as well, except we'll be adding charts. It's a budget example that we've been using the entire time here, my budget. So you'll be creating a my budget, or modifying a my budget in functions tonight. We'll be taking that same example and adding to it charts and dynamic charts, meaning like in the budget, I believe you got Jan through December, JN through DEC. You'll be able to select month by month, and it'll pull up that chart dynamically per month by month for you. Show you how to do that by filtering. And quiz 4 case. Next week is the last week as far as in-class assignment or take-home, because remember, week 5 is sit down. You're going to be on a computer, but sit down, take the final exam on the computer. And there's no surprises on your final exam. If you've done well in the quizzes, 1 through 4, you're going to do great in the final. Make sense? Yes. Open book, open notes. Yep.
Is it demonstration or just strictly like?
Strictly multiple choice. Yep. So if you've done well in the quizzes prior, 1 through 4, you're going to do great. No surprises. Okay. Now, just to note, in the lessons tab, there is in the course documents a CIS121 notes PDF file. It'd probably be well worth looking at that if you're not already doing that. It just gives a synopsis, each tutorial, some definitions. So I know some of you are already doing that. I did mention it the first week, but not since then. So CIS121 notes, it's in the lessons tab in the course documents. Okay. Now, let's go and shift gears here. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so let me go ahead and go where you're at. Hopefully you're on the Lessons tab. Well, let's go, everybody go into week 3. This first one is Excel functions, resources, and examples. Let's look at that one together. Here's the URL I was telling you about that has all the Microsoft Excel examples. If you click on this link, it'll bring up this page here, which I've already preloaded just to make it a little quicker. Most of you have Office 2010 right at home. So if you do, read the blog about it, because there are some implementations of new functions and new algorithms to improve accuracy within 2010. But as far as the definitions of what the functions do, pretty much stay the same. Okay? In fact, they will stay the same. What's cool about this page is it gives you can click on the actual function you want to look at. Like if you want to look at, for instance, I don't know, if you're an engineer, if you want to look at engineer functions, it'll give you all the engineer functions and what those functions do. And then when you click on the actual, like this one's convert a decimal number to hexadecimal. You click on it, it gives you the syntax, which is going to be the equal symbol, DEC2 hex, and then a forced cell. You need a required at least one cell for this one, like most functions do. Then it gives you a description of what it does, remarks, if any, and then some examples. Every one of them will do that, every one of them. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples. So any function that you need to utilize from any of these categories, add-in, automated, cube, database, date and time, engineering, financial, information, logical, lookup and reference, math and trigonometry, statistical, and text. Those are the wide categories. You click on each one of those, it brings you into narrower categories. So bookmark this definitely, because you'll be using this in the future if you're going to use Excel after this class, for sure. Okay. These next two I'm not going to open up, but this one right here is a larger project. In fact, I thought about doing a podcast just on that, because I've had a number of students interested in that one. So I might just do a podcast. I think I will. I'll just go and do a podcast just on that one Excel spreadsheet and what everything it does. It'll take me a good 45 minutes probably to do the podcast for that. You don't have to listen to it. It'll just be supplemental if you want to, on what it does and how it's broken down and different functions it's used. Then, if we go back to week 3, the in-class exercise, does everybody click on that? We're going to click on the definitions link first. It'll prompt you to either open it or save it. Go ahead and select the open, which should be the default, and then just click OK. Once it opens up, like mine on the overhead, once it opens up successfully, let's go back to the in-class exercise and open up number 2, which is the actual in-class exercise source file that we're going to start with. Go ahead and click OK on that as well when it prompts you in Eagle, and it'll open it up in Excel. And then the third one, do the same on source example. We'll look at that one as well. So by the time you've opened all your documents, 1, 2, and 3, you should have what I have on the overhead, your Word document, your beginning Excel document, which looks like this one, and then the third one looks like this one. So I'll come around real quick and see if you need any help. This is actually a snapshot. This number 1 is a synopsis from the functions or from the notes file in the lessons tab for CIS121 notes. It says hundreds of different Excel functions exist. There's 11 categories, examples in your book on page EX122. And then it gives the major categories I've already went over online on Microsoft's website. Functions in Excel are very powerful. They are also usually require at least one cell as a required cell for the argument. Okay, an example would be this for an Excel function. It always starts with, we'll pretend this is a cell here, Okay? It always starts with the equal symbol. A function does. It always starts with the equal symbol. Equals, then it's going to be the function name, and then left parentheses, and then generally a cell. So we'll say, for instance, and generally this cell here is going to be a required cell, at least one required cell. All the other cells are generally optional. Okay? And then a right parentheses to end it. So you've got equal symbol, function name, left parentheses, a cell reference, one or more, generally one required for sure on all functions for the most part, and right parentheses. So left parentheses, cell or cell references, right parentheses. Okay? If you can remember that, it's going to help you a long ways in functions. Now, I think I told you the first or second week about functions. I don't like to use automated functions. They have what's called, and the book talks about it, built-in functions, which is what Microsoft's website gives you. You can use, and I do use built-in functions, but I don't use the little FX operator in the tab in Excel to do so. I just hit the equal symbol where I want that function to be, and then type it out manually. Okay? The reason you want to do that and learn doing that and force yourself to do that is so you will not rely upon the task and the wizards within the function. It's harder to learn it that way, but in the long run it's going to help you, if that makes sense. Most of you will use, on average in Excel, under 10 functions in your lifetime. Under 10. If you're advanced, maybe 15 or 20. If you're an engineer, 30 to 50. Okay? Where I work during the day, it's not uncommon for engineers to use that many functions throughout their day. Engineers are always crunching numbers, coming up with convoluted calculations that they need for every single function that they do. Okay? So don't be overwhelmed by that. Most of us are not going to use that in that fashion. We're going to stick probably underneath the 10 range, most of you. Okay? So far, you've already learned the function of sum, correct? Tonight, we're going to be going over some other functions. Min, max, average are the three functions we'll start out with. And then we'll do a logical function using the if operator. Okay? A logical function using the if operator. So let's go ahead and start with the functions here in the exercise, and I'll give you a definition here of what we're going to be using tonight. The functions we're going to cover in the exercise is min, like I said. It returns a minimum value of selected cell range. So the syntax for this one is equal symbol min. It requires at least one cell. The rest are optional. Example, equals min, left parentheses, dollar symbol A, dollar symbol 1, colon, dollar symbol A, dollar symbol 5, and right parentheses. It's going to kick back a min value of that range. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's going to kick back 1 in that value. Yes? No. No, you can type in lowercase min, that's fine. Max is the next one. This returns a max value of selected range. So equal symbol, max, left parentheses, it requires one cell or more. One cell is required, the rest are optional. Example, equals max, left parentheses, dollar symbol A, dollar symbol 1. And we'll talk about what these dollar symbols are in just a second. The book talked about it, but we'll go over that in just a second. Colon, dollar symbol, that should be 1. No, dollar symbol A, dollar symbol 5. That's fine. That's going to return back a max value of that cell reference range. Then average returns an average value of a selected cell range. There's the syntax. Here's an example. Next is the if logic, the logical operator if. If is a logical function that returns either one value, and that value can be a text, a number. Yes, question. Mean average? Median average would be the middle number within the range.
But in that example, the result is going to get back to be a mean average.
On the average, yes, it will be a mean average. Yes. Now, on the if logic, the logical function for this one returns one value if the statement is true, returns another value if it's false. Argument syntax for this equals if, left parentheses, whatever argument, and then you have a comma true path, comma false path. And you have to have a true path and you have to have a false path. Okay? Now you can do empty quotes for a true path and empty quotes for a false path, but it has to have a path. It has to have something in there. Example, if $A, $1 is greater than $E, $2, it's going to be yes if it's true. It's going to be no if it's false. Okay? And you actually use one of these in your example tonight. Next, number 2, referencing cells. Your book talks about in this tutorial, relative, absolute, and mixed. Okay? Relative is a cell reference that changes when it's copied and pasted in a new location. You've already seen this happen when you've done the sum function. When you did a sum function on the end of a row or the end of a column, and you did the copy of that function, remember it changed the reference as you copied it to give you the correct total. And that was because it was a relative reference. Absolute reference is a cell reference that doesn't change when it's copied and it's pasted in a new location. This one, on the absolute reference, has to have a $ before each column and each row to be absolute. So $A, $1, $B, $1, that's absolute. If you copy that reference as set, it's going to be that every time. And the importance for this would be if you have somewhere on your Excel spreadsheet a sales tax area for different states, okay? And you're going to have to reference those cell reference states for every 50 state of the union. You want it to be an absolute reference to that cell to where that tax is. Now that cell tax, that absolute reference tax, can actually be mixed in with an argument that has relative references in it. Okay? An example would be A1 through B, let's do A1 through H1 times, and then $E or $F, $1, absolute reference. If you copied that function, the absolute would stay the same, the relative would change as you copied it down on your Excel workbook or worksheet. And we'll see what that looks like in just a second. Mixed is a relative and absolute cell reference, as I just mentioned, in the same argument. The next is conditional formatting. In Excel 2007-2010, we have a conditional formatting called top 10, bottom 10, used all the time. Top 10 is just that. It gives a top 10 of selected cell ranges. You can change the top number from 10 to whatever, and we do that tonight. We do a top 2, bottom 2, or I believe a top 2, bottom 1. I can't remember. One of the two. But you can change that top reference number to whatever you want it to be. So you select a cell reference range, right? Then you go into conditional formatting, and you can do top or bottom. And it'll select the top, whatever number you select out of that range. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values selected, and you do a bottom 2, it's going to be 1, 2. If you do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cell reference values, and you do a top, it's going to do 4, 5. Okay? So top and bottom is used a lot, pretty powerful, easy to use. The next is set print area. We've already went over this in prior tutorials, but I wanted to highlight it tonight because set print area, how you set it, I give you here the example of how to do it. You just go to page layout, print area, and set it. You select your area that you want to select first and print. The reason that you want to set a print area is that's what's going to be printed out. Okay? Now you'll see in just a second when I bring up the Excel workbook that you can see the guides of where the print is going to be already before you do the print area. So if you have it set to landscape or portrait, it'll show you those guides. And then today function. We're going to use this today in our example. To anytime you open up the Excel workbook or worksheet, any tab that has this today function in a cell, it'll always print today's date. Okay? Which is a lot, I use a lot for reporting purposes, weekly meetings, that I have to have today's date on that Excel worksheet when I'm presenting data. Okay? So let's go ahead and go into the first, or the end example, the third one. The number 3 that I had you guys open, which was the source example. I want to look at the end result here before we start. Now you'll notice in this Excel workbook I added a lot of comments, which you can do yourself easily. All you need to do to add a comment in Excel is right-click on any cell and insert comment. As soon as you do that, you'll note it puts in the login name of your user on that computer, or the computer name, one of the two. And now, if you notice something, when I click away, notice it goes away. To keep it up like I have done these, you might not want that. You might just want them to hover over to see it. But if you wanted to keep it up like I have on mine, you just right-click on that cell and show comments. And it'll stay there after you close the workbook. Okay? Now, what's cool about comments, if you look on the overhead, if I do a print preview, comments are not printed. They're just for viewing purposes only, to make comments and changes and whatever that is you want it to do, the viewer to do when they're on that workbook. To delete a comment, write it, right-click on it, delete comment. So if you notice on this one, I've got steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 11 steps to do. I'm going to quickly go over this final example here, show you the functions that I have you use. You have it on your screen too. But what I'd like you to do is, after we go over these functions, while it's fresh in your mind and you've just seen it, I want you to go to the number 2 download, which is the beginning example, and try as best as you can to do these functions without looking at at your example. Does that make sense? Try your best not to do it. Okay? If you have to peek, that's okay, but try your best not to. All right? So let's do this. I'm going to go over these quickly, like I said, and I found out it's better to just go over it quickly, kind of like pulling a Band-Aid off. All right? Go over them quickly. Don't get overwhelmed by it. Just soak it in as I go over these. Okay? The basic logic, hopefully you've already got, but just kind of watch it, and then I'm going to let you go at it, and I'm going to walk around and help you. So let's go over number 1. That's simple. You can do this pretty easy without any help, I hope. Save as. First initial, last name. You'll do that in just a second. Don't do it yet. You're doing this on the source file. First initial, last name, you'll save it onto your desktop. Okay? Number 2, you're going to add to conditional formatting. You're going to select the top 2 from F3 to F14. Okay, that's this to this. All right? Now let me show you. I'm going to go ahead and bring up my source example like you guys are not working on yet, to show you how easy this is. Okay, so I'm going to do conditional formatting, top 2 from F3 to F14. And what you might do if yours is like mine, I think, do you guys have on your source this blue background and red background on your? Okay, I left it in there then. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and select F3 through F14 like it says in step 2. I'm going to go up here to conditional formatting. And you see where it says clear rules? I'm going to clear all the rules, so start out like it should be, like it's that right there. I want to clear rules first. So I'm going to get it's F3 through F14. Okay, now here's the deal. I want custom format. I want the background of the fill to be red and the font to be white, and it's remember it's top 2. So I go over here to conditional formatting, top bottom rules. I want top 10. I'm going to change that to 2. Click on this drop down. I don't like any of these prefabbed ones. I'm going to go right down to custom format. The fill color I want to be red. The font color I want to be white. Click OK. Then click OK again. So I've got my red. My next conditional formatting is bottom 2, F3 through F14, fill color dark blue, font white. Oh. There. 2. And I want dark blue for the fill, and then fill color white. All right, so I've got this fulfilled now. Number 2 is fulfilled. I've got my top 2 and my bottom 2. Next is number 3, add conditional formatting top 1 to B15 to E15. I've already got it in there, it looks like, so I'm going to go and do a clear first. Select it again. I'm going to do bottom 1 and fill color purple. If you want to do different fill colors than I have you do, that's fine. Just as long as it complements the cell, I don't care. All right. Okay. Oh, I'm supposed to do bottom 2. Bottom 10, bottom 2. All right. Fill purple, font white. There we go. Okay. Now I'm done with number 2. Number 3, done with that. Number 4, add a function on B16, which is right here, today. And what does every function start with? All at once? Equals, right? So I'm going to just write in that cell reference, I'm going to type in equals today. Now on the today function, you have to type in a left and right parentheses afterwards. Equals today, left and right parentheses, hit enter, and it's going to put in today's date, 10/12/2011. Done with that. I'm going to hit save. Step 5, add a function for B18, B19, B20 using a max, min, and average function. I'm going to use absolute reference on this one. Okay? So, again, for my max, I'm going to type in equals, then what? Max, right. Equals max, left parentheses, and notice it gives me a pop-up of what I need to put in here and fulfill it. Remember, the bold is required. The non-bolded text is optional. So again, I want B18. I'm doing the max of the month, so I want, let's see, F3 through F14. And I'm going to do absolute referencing. So F3 colon F14, right parentheses, 2165. You can double check to make sure it's good. Yep, 2165. Next, for lowest, equal symbol. What do I need for that? Min, right? M-I-N. Left parentheses, dollar symbol, F3, F14. Right parentheses. Then finally, average equals average. Good. Left parentheses, dollar symbol, F, dollar symbol 3, colon, dollar symbol F, dollar symbol 14, right parentheses. Okay? Next, I'm going to add this, do the same thing for the categories here. So B15, B16, or B15, C6, 15, D, and E. So B through E, 15. Same deal. Dollar symbol, B15. Dollar symbol, E15. Right parentheses, 1440, yep, that's it. And then next is min, M-I-N. Dollar symbol, we're going to do B15. or symbol E15.
So you don't have to go back and put a capital?
Nope, it can be lowercase. And then this next one's average. Bump and do B. Okay. Done with that one. 7, to do, change orientation to landscape. Page layout, orientation, landscape. Set the print area A1 through A25, I-25. A1 through I-25. Print area, set print area. Step 8, format the cells to currency where it's needed, 2 decimals. So I'm just going to select all these, format cells, currency. By default, it's going to be 2 decimals. Format cell currency. Format cell currency. And I know this one's going to be, this one here's currency. Save. Okay. Step 9, format fill and font colors used in steps 2 and 3. What I'm going to do, this is just a key, so the user sees it, they know what the colors are. So top 2 months, fill red, white. So fill red, font white. Bottom 2, blue, white. And then top, this should be top 2. It says top 1. Top 2. Is that right? Yeah, purple. Boom. White. Okay, so I've got my key now. Next, step 10, add the if function to display yes in this cell here, cell I-23, if the max of absolute reference F3 through absolute reference F14 is greater than I-22 of $2,000. Display no if it's false. So budget's 2,000. Any of these months that are over 2,000, it's going to say yes, which we already know there is. So let's go ahead and put the logic in this one, okay? Equal symbol, what do I put for if, you think? If, very good. If, then I want a max value here. So I'm going to do on this one, if, left parentheses, then what? For max, right? Max, left parentheses again. I want F3, F14, absolute reference. F3, F14, comma, true, it's going to be in quotes, yes, another comma for false path, in quotes, no, right parentheses, yes. Now let's just do this to play with it, so I'm almost done. Let's dumb everything down here to under 2,000 just to show you real quick that this should say no now if I change this. I'm actually manually typing it in. That's okay, just so you can see it. Greater than max. I'm going to have to save it. Back again. F3, F14, F3, F14. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot the greater than symbol. Greater than symbol, greater than I-22. I-22. There we go, that's better. There we go. Now it says no. Okay? So I forgot my greater than symbol. So I have the max. This gives one value, and then greater than I-22. Yes, yes for true, no for false. Then finally, I'm going to do a print preview to see what this looks like. Let me save it. Print preview, see what it looks like. It's going to be black and white because we have a black and white printer. That's fine. That's what it should look like. And then finally, you're going to save it and submit it to the Dropbox. Okay? So, go forth and conquer. I'll come around and help you. You'll do great. Everybody's going to finish 100%.